my friends, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Zita, and on my channel I do DIYs and makeovers on a budget. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at OakWell Home. So let's get started on today's DIYs and see what I've created. Today I'm participating in the third Thursday Thrift Flips hosted by our friends Tammie at the Rusted Willow, Elizabeth at Rustic Chicks Design, and Teri at the Robin's Nest by Teri. So once you finish watching my video today, don't forget to head on down to my description box where you'll find the playlist for all the other amazing creators participating in this playlist. So I'm going to start out with this scrap piece of wood that I found in the scrap wood pile at my local hardware store. So this was an awesome piece to find. Now one side did have like a little bit of like a dent in it, but nothing major at all. So I was very shocked and surprised to find this in their wood pile. Like, this big piece of wood is going to make a beautiful bath tray. So first what I did is just sand the edges and on both sides, and then just sanded the top and the bottom, and kind of sanded more around that little like dent in the board, and I just left that part on the bottom. But as you can see, it is in excellent condition. So I used a sanding block here because the wood actually was very smooth as well. Like, it wasn't too rough at all. So once I had it all sanded, I took a damp cloth and wiped away all that dust, which you're going to want to do because you want it to be nice and clean before you start your painting. So for this tray, I'm going to make a little book stand on it as well. So I'm measuring the board out here, and I measured the inside of my bathtub. So I'm just measuring out here where I need to put my strips of wood on each end, so that it's, you know, not, so that it's quite almost, you know, the width of the inside of the bathtub, but it's not going to fit in there snugly. There's going to be a little bit of room for it to move, but not so much room that if you moved it some, that it's going to slide down into the bathtub. So where I'm placing these strips, it's going to be fine. It's not going to fall down into the bathtub. Now I'm getting out my brad nails, and my brad nail are here, and I'm measuring out the nails that I need. You're going to want to measure the brad nails to make sure you have the proper size, that they're going to be long enough to go through the piece of wood and go through you know, the tray portion, but not so long where they're going to come out the other side. So here I'm just measuring out the width of the piece of wood, just so I know where to center out those strips on each side. And I just marked where with a pencil, so I would know where to place it once I put my wood glue on there. And then I nailed in my brad nails. So I got that first one done. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I just kind of laid the strip of wood against the one I just nailed in, and then again measured both sides to make sure it was equal, just in case the board was off like a little bit, but this board was pretty straight. So again, I put my wood glue on, put it in place, and then took my brad nailer and put my brad nails in. Now, when you're using your brad nailer, make sure you practice safety. Put your safety glasses on And also when you're changing out the nails, take out the battery. Don't leave the battery in because you don't want any accidents to happen. So here I am just cutting my other strips of wood that I'm going to use for my book holders. I'm just cutting them to the same length. So one was a little bit too long. So I'm just using my miter box and my miter saw here and just cutting that little piece off. And you'll see they turn out to be the exact same size. And once I have that sawed down, I'm just going to take my sanding block again and make sure all the edges and all the top of the pieces of wood are nice and smooth, nice and sanded out. And again, I'm going to take a damp cloth and wipe away that dust, and these pieces will be ready to go for my little book holder. So now I'm taking my tape measure and measuring out the place where I need to put my book holder pieces. And if I have my time back, you'll see here what I did, how I placed these. But if I had my time back, I probably would have put the other strip first, and then used a clamp to clamp it down with the glue, because you'll see I have to turn it upside down to put my brad nails in these ones, because I didn't want the brad nails showing on top. So I nailed the brad nails in at the bottom of the board. So I had to turn it upside down and try and keep it centered. But I did mark it with a pencil, so I had an idea where to place it. And but it was kind of sliding around with the wood glue. So I think if I had this to do over again, like the next strip that I put on for the book to hold the book, I would have put that piece first with the wood glue, left it right side up, and then just clamped it. And then once that was secure, I would have glued down the outside piece and then clamp that one, because you'll see here. So right there, I was just trying to fit the bookends to see where I need to place that second piece. And that was much harder to place, like with the wood glue, because like I said, when you put the wood glue down, it slides a little bit. So I kind of had to hold it in place, and I use another piece of wood as a guide to keep them like straight out from each other, because I just kind of held it with my hands when I turned it upside down, and then took a strip of wood and put it underneath as a guide to keep the wood pieces parallel to each other. And it worked out. So for that second piece, I just see here I was trying to put a clamp on, and I'm kind of out of the frame there, but I was trying to put a clamp on there, but because they were two different heights, and I had a hard time putting the clamp on that second piece. I couldn't get it on there. I didn't have the right clamps for that, so I had to turn it upside down. And then see here, I'm using that piece of wood as a guide to keep the pieces parallel to each other and in the right position. And then I took my brad nails and nailed it into place, and it actually worked out pretty good. They both lined up really even. As you can see there, they lined up nice and even. But if you want to do this project, I would suggest putting the glue on the inside one first, clamping it, let that dry, and then put the wood glue on the outside piece and then clamp that one in place instead of doing it the way I did, the hard way. So right now I'm taking some watered down homemade chalk paint, and I wanted to give this a whitewash look. But once I applied this first coat, I thought it looks too light. So what I did for the second coat is I added some acrylic paint to my already watered down homemade chalk paint and just made it, you know, a little whiter. So I put 3 coats on this, I believe, 3 or 4 coats. So it's going to look a little whiter than what it looks right here, right now. What do you think? Would you have painted this, given this a whitewash kind of look? Would you have painted it? Would you have stained it? Would you have left it natural? Let me know in the comments what you would prefer. So here I'm just putting some of that watered down chalk paint in another container so I can add that white acrylic paint to darken up that white, because you can't really tell right now. I mean, if you like a really light whitewash, I guess it would work, but I just wanted a little bit more of that white to show through. So like I said, I think I gave this 3 or 4 coats to get the color that I wanted. And I only whitewashed the top of it. I left the bottom natural. But after I have all this painted and then the next process done, like at the end, I will apply a polyacrylic to this because, you know, I'm going to be using it in a bathtub. Well, actually, I'm going to try and sell this piece. And yeah, so I wanted to put a polyacrylic on it so it's will last in the bathtub with the water. So here I'm just using my heat gun to dry that. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp it. I'm using these IOD stamps. These are called Painterly, and they're rose pieces. Now, this was my first time using these, so when you're using stamps for the first time, you're going to want to give them a light sanding, like with a light sanding block, just so your ink has some tooth to grab onto the stamp, and your ink will apply better. So here I'm just kind of taking one of the roses and testing it out, putting some black ink on it and testing it out on the paper just to see how it comes out, because it's my first time using these, and I found them a little difficult to use. Like, you know, they're called Painterly, and you almost need to know how to paint in order to place them properly. So, but you know, I just winged it. And here are some other floral stamps that the Dollar Tree had recently, some really beautiful ones. So if you don't have any IOD stamps, or you know they're too expensive for you, because they can get a little expensive, head to your local Dollar Tree, because they have some beautiful ones there now. Like this one's from the Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna stamp it on that paper as a tester just to show you what it looks like. And I do use one of these on the tray, but I wanted more of the open floral look. So I did kind of try out all kinds of different pieces in different places, because like the branches are separate from the actual rose portion, and then you know you see some of the darker ones on the plastic there that I think they're supposed to have like a 3-dimensional look, but I went for a more open look just for this tray. But I think this would also look really nice if I would have painted this tray, like the rose portion, gave it some color, and then stamped on top of it again to give it that 3D look. But I just wanted this to be, you know, a natural look, you know, black and white, in case people don't want, you know, pink or red roses on their bath tray. It's going to fit in any style of bathroom with the black and the white. So that's why I stuck with the black and the white. And I'm sorry about my head in the way there. So yeah, so I'm just trying out different pieces of the roses, trying to just give it, you know, a natural kind of look. Some are falling, some are straight up. Some of the stems of the roses are kind of crooked, like this one I just placed there. Like I said, there was no rhyme or reason with how I was placing them. I was just trying to place them to make them look decent and like, you know, that they were real roses. So you let me know in the comments what you think of how I'm placing them. And also let me know if you have this stamp set and what are some tips and tricks that you could give me on how to better, you know, apply these to a piece. Because I'm just getting used to this. So I do want to try out this stamp on some other pieces in the future just to give myself some practice. Because some of the stems were, you know, kind of crooked and, you know, have that natural look, but that second one that I placed there had a straight stem. And you see what I did there? I applied the ink to the wrong side. I thought I was applying the ink to, you know, the stamp side, but I didn't. And then, so I got my fingers full of ink. I had to go scrub my fingers almost raw in the sink to get that ink off. I used Dawn dish soap and a scrubber to try and get the ink off my fingers. Anyway, so I'm continuing on with laying my roses and trying to give like the whole thing a natural look. I'm going to take these roses over just past the bookends, I believe, and then I'm going to apply some word stamps, and you'll see that coming up. So right now I'm going to apply the word relax now that I have the roses all along the bottom there. So I left enough room to apply the word relax. And these stamps are called typesetting stamps. So I'm putting the word relax, and I just put it on my thin mount here, applied my black ink, and I'm kind of pressing down, like holding with one hand and then pressing with the other hand. And I'm kind of going along the letters just to make sure all that ink comes off and I get a nice clear word. And you'll see there I did. Now I'm just testing out some of those dollar store stamps there. I thought it needed a few more roses at the top there just to balance the piece out. So I'm going to show you here what this Dollar Tree rose looks like. So I applied one of those just so you could see what it looks like. If you want to make something like this for yourself and you don't have the IOD stamp, you could check out your local Dollar Tree and see if they have all the floral stamps I showed you here today. So now I'm just applying some more stems and leaves and just, you know, trying to give it a natural look. And yeah, so then once I have that there in the corner, so now I think it looks more balanced out with those few pieces at the top. So I think this is turning out so beautiful. But let me know if you would have painted it white or if you would have stained it. So now that that is all done, and once your ink is dried, let your ink dry, friends. If you don't, it's going to smear. And trust me, I know because I've done that. So I'm starting off with applying my polyacrylic on the bottom. So I apply it to the whole piece. And then I guess I forgot to turn my video on for the applying the polyacrylic on top, but I applied it to the whole piece. And I gave it, I think, 2 or 3 coats of the polyacrylic. So here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. Absolutely stunning. So let me know, friends, what you think about this piece. I hope it gave you some inspiration to make one for yourself. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for sharing some of your time with me. Bye.